Good evening, everyone. Today we will start the new chapter, that is the Unit 5, which covers the veterinary anatomy, physiology, and also some chapters from veterinary biochemistry. So, the I think you have gone through the syllabus, and the first chapter in this particular unit is structure of the cells or cell organelles. Some of the basic things we need to learn in this particular chapter, and we'll see how we can go ahead. So, what's inside a cell? Everyone know that varieties of the cell organelles like lysosome is present. Then there is a cytoskeleton, then Golgi apparatus, mitochondrion, then the vesicles are present, then DNAs are present in the nucleolus, then nucleus, the integral part of the cell, then ribosomes are also the parts, and RERs, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, then outer plasma membrane and cytosol. These are all the important organelles which are present in a animal cell. As such, the animal cells doesn't have the cell wall. It is having the cell membrane. And animal cell is found in every living animal or organism, and it gives the animal its structure and lets the animal function. It can be specialized to do certain important jobs. It can be different sizes and shapes. Then these organelles are present inside the cell, which are very tiny structures, and they carry out very specific jobs assigned to them. And within the cells, they are all present, and the crores of such cells will form a tissue, then such tissues will form an organ, then multiple organs will for the organism or the animal. So this is a kind of the organs for the basic structure of organ of a cell. Then cell membrane is the outermost cover of a cell, and it protects the cell from the external environment. So it forms the boundary that separates the cells from its surroundings. Then it lets things in and out of the cells like it is forming as a door, and it holds everything together. Then the another thing is the cytoplasm. It's a jelly-like structure. Then it surrounded by the cell membrane. Then the function of cytoplasm is holds all the organelles inside the cell in the moving fluid state. So all the organelles inside a cell, they depending upon their specific gravity, they float in the cell, and they will all function. And some of them are adhered to the cell membrane, and many of them are free floating organelles. So the cytoplasm covers the majority of the cell, and it is one of the basic structure that allows the organelles to float inside it. Then nucleus is the brain of a cell, just like the brain of a human being or any organism. It is a large oval-shaped structure, and it produces the protein to control of cell activities. We'll see all the photographs are there, and the nucleus is the one which control the protein synthesis and several activities of a cell is concerned. So this is a cell with nucleus. Then it is containing rough endoplasmic reticulum. Outer side coat is there. Then very near to the nucleus, the nucleolus is inside the cell. Then nuclear envelopes are present. Then chromatin is the one which is having the color granule. And there are certain pores are there, and the materials will move through outside to inside the nucleus to this pore. Then nucleolus is a oval structure in the nucleus that makes the ribosomes. So it is the one which prepares the ribosomes, and because of the ribosomes are the synthesis of the proteins in the body. Then here nucleus is the whole page, for example, and nucleolus is the pit inside this thing, and a small page. Just like the vacuoles are large water-filled sacs floating in the cytoplasm, when they are like the storage areas of the cell. If they are not found in the animal cells, and some cells more have the one, and the functions of the vacuoles are to store food and other materials needed by the cell in near future. So it is the storehouse of the food, or the vacuole. In the electron microscopy, we can see the vacuole like a white mass. Then mitochondria is a energy store of the cell. For example, if you take any electronic material, the battery is the life of it, and the battery is the powerhouse. So it's a rod-shaped structures found in the cytoplasm, known as the powerhouses or batteries of a cell, and they function the like they convert food into energy and other organelles used to their jobs. So this is the mitochondria looking like the multiple folds and looking like a small board. So this is the battery or powerhouse of a cell. For many instances, the power is generated using adenosine triphosphate and also the energy through the glucose here. Then endoplasmic reticulum is also known as ER. It's a major passageways in the cytoplasm, and two kinds of ER are there in the cells. Rough ER have the ribosomes attached, and smooth ER no ribosomes attached. So to carry proteins and other materials from one part of the cell to the other parts. Then the function of this one is to carry proteins and other materials. So the endoplasmic reticulum is also one of the important cell structures which cells chemical reactions occur here. Multiple chemical reactions occur here. So the endoplasmic reticulum is having the daughter structures like shown in this particular photo, then which contains more and more ribosomes is called as rough endoplasmic reticulum, and the EP endoplasmic reticulum which does not contain much EP ribosomes are called as the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then the endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and once again the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So this is the cisternal space, and rough endoplasmic reticulum is like this, the dotted structures, and it is called as the space is called as cisternae in between the daughter structure, the gaps are known as cisternae. And here is the nuclear envelope and nuclear pores are there. And the EPR is the one, endoplasmic reticulum, the honeycomb type of the structure on which the ribosomes are adhered. So, rough endoplasmic reticulum and the outer one, which do contain less or no ribosomes, is called as the smooth EPR, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then the lysosomes are the one which, just like the soap factories, they are one which digestive enzymes are there inside this, and they are like the cleanup crew, and they break down materials within the digestive enzyme, break down large food particles into the smaller ones, and break down old cell parts and recycle them. So that's why they are called as the scavenging type of the cell. So they lyse everything, whatever they get, so they are lysing the everything. So here, this is a structure of a lysosome which contain the single wall membrane, and it contains the storehouse of certain chemicals which are like detergents and useful for the cleaning of the cells, just like we clean our house using some of the detergents, etc. So it's also one of the cleaning process. And ribosomes are grain-like bodies found on the surface of rough endoplasmic reticulum and floating around the cytoplasm. And they are like protein factories, and there are more ribosomes in the cell than any other organelles. So these are highest structures. So they are adhering to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So what is the function of this one is, it is one of the important source of the protein making organism. So here the ribosomes are looking like this. There may be a large unit and small unit, and they united together to produce, or they are going to join different amino acids, and sometimes they are going to cut them in between and form the polypeptide chains. Later, it is going to form as one of the organism or this protein. Then the Golgi apparatus is a flattened sacs and tubes found in the cytoplasm. Then these are like the cell's mail route, Golgi complex. So they receive proteins from other smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then they pack them as protein, then they are going to pack up, or they act as the intermediary stations and sends them to the other parts of the cell where the requirement is. So this is the Golgi apparatus, a flat and folded body. So the function of this is to get or receive the proteins from the other part of the cell and send them where the requirement is. Then the cytoskeleton, a web of protein in the cytoplasm. So it acts as a muscle and skeleton of a cell. Then this keeps the membrane from collapsing and helps some cell movement. Then cell wall, outermost organelle of a cell, in plant cells only this is present, and it is made up of the cellulose. So this is a special structure only in case of the plants, and some of the bacteria also do have the cell wall. allow plants to stand upright, and some take in water. So they have got the thick wall. Then chloroplast is the green organelle because it's the chloroplast in plant cells. It is made up of two membranes and contain their own DNA. Then what is the function of chloroplast is where the photosynthesis takes place, it is going to utilize the energy, etc., which is required to the plant cell. So overall, what we can see is the organelles which are present in an animal cell are the outer cell membrane, followed by the lysosomes, which do contain chemicals. Nucleus is the control house. Then nucleolus is another thing. Nuclear membranes are the one which protect the nucleus. Then vacuoles are there. Then mitochondria, which is powerhouse of the cell, whereas the Golgi apparatus is the one which accumulates the protein and sends them wherever they are required. Then the smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum are the one which are useful for the protein synthesis. Then cytoplasm is the empty or the liquid phase, and centrosomes are small bodies which are floating on the cytoplasm. Then let us know much more about the animal cell. So this is the cross section of an animal cell, and we can see that it contains the rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, then nucleus. The nucleolus is present inside the nucleus. Then the lysosomes are also present with centrioles. Then this is the flagellum, which is present in few of these cells, not all. Flagella or the tail-like structure. The peroxisomes are the one which are present in the cells. Then the cytoskeletal contain the microtubules, intermediate filament, then microfilament. So the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Then plasma membrane is the one which is required for the holding the structure of a cell. Then Golgi apparatus and ribosomes are the other things which we have discussed already. The cell is one of the most smallest structure of a body, and it is having structural, functional and biological unit of all the living organisms which can capable of biosynthesis, then replication, then energy transportation, and also self-sufficient in nature. And they are often called as the building blocks of a life. So there is a terminology known as the cytology, which is the science that deals with the study of cell and its organelles. So the organisms can be classified as unicellular organisms like bacteria, protozoa, etc. Then they consist of a very single cell, and the bacteria also do have the cell with single cells, whereas multicellular are the animals and the plants, while the number of cells in plants and animals varies from the species to species. The plants can grow to the higher extent, whereas the animals cannot grow unlimitedly, then human contain about 100 trillion cell. Means if you put 14 zeros in front of a 10, then you can imagine how much quantity of the cells are present in every human beings. So all cells arise from existing cells by the process of cell division, in which one cell divides into two identical cells. And as the age advances, the old cells will get replaced by the new cells, and that process is called as the apoptosis or programmed cell death. So the cells also support the homeostasis and contribute to many functional capabilities of human organisms. Then the most plant and animal cells are visible only under the microscope within the dimension of 1 to 100 micrometers. Then animal cell contains the membrane bound nucleus, and it also contains other membrane bound intracellular organelles, and these cellular organelles carry out specific functions that are necessary for normal functioning of the cell. Just like once again it's a repetition as usual. The cilia, some of the cells, they do contain a very special structure which is required for the motility of that cell. All other things are cell. So biological membrane of the cell is called as the plasma membrane. So it's a thin elastic structure about 7.5 to 10 nanometer in thickness. It separates the internal environment inside the cell from external environment. So, and also it prevents the damage to the cell. The plasma membrane is made up of the lipid bilayer, which contains the lipid molecules. Then the phospholipids, cholesterol, and the glycoproteins. And these glycoproteins are the characteristic feature of the cells, and it contains cell membrane contains the hydrophobic moiety, then hydrophobic repel the water soluble material. So it is a double layer because it's containing the phospholipid bilayer, and outside the cell membrane you can see the glycolipid carbohydrate chains, then the globular proteins, then cytoprotein. Cholesterol is also integral part of the cell. Then most of the cells do contain the hydrophobic alpha helix. Then the protein channels are there which are required for carrying the amino acids inside the cell to form the protein. See here, the phospholipids, which are the building blocks of the cells, do contain hydrophilic head, whereas the hydrophobic tail is also present. Then the plasma membrane is said to be semi-permeable. Then semi-permeable means that membrane allows some material inside the cell while excluding the other. Then lipid soluble substances and gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide can easily pass through the phospholipids, and they are called as the membrane phospholipids. Then water soluble substances such as the glucose and Charged molecules such as the ions, however, are unable to pass through the lipid bilayer. And these hydrophilic molecules and ions must be used to transfer the proteins within the membrane to pass into or outside the cell. And this is the characteristic feature of the plasma membrane. So two different type of the proteins are embedded in the cell membrane that are integral part of the peripheral protein. Number one, the transport protein, or it's also called as the channels, ion channels, or the channel simply. So, is an example of integral protein that selectively allows particular materials such as uh, the and sometimes it is the ionic movement or inside and outside the cell. And another important group of the integral proteins are cell recognition proteins, and which serve to mark a cell's identity so that it can be recognized by other cells. Then another thing is the receptor. It's a type of recognition protein that can selectively bind very specific molecule outside the cell, and this binding induces a chemical reaction within the cell. And some integral membrane proteins are the glycoproteins, and a glycoprotein is a protein that has the carbohydrate molecules attached, which help in cell to cell recognition. Then all the cells do have the similar functions. Communication between cells. Plasma membranes also contain protein that allow cells to detect external signaling system. And cytoplasm, of course, it is containing the fluid membrane, and all the organelles will be floating inside this one. And the nucleus is the one which is the controlling, or it's also called as control room of a cell. So it has got the control on the particular cell's function and also the other switches. Nucleus directs all activities. Nucleus then contain genetic material, especially like the DNA, and separated from cytoplasm by some nuclear membrane. The nucleus is surrounded by the nuclear envelope which protects the nucleus. So the nucleus membrane is made up of two layers. Openings allow material and enter and leave the nucleus. So this is the structure of a chromosome, chromatin, then histones, the nucleosomes, and DNA helix. So nucleolus is the region of the nucleus that is responsible for functioning of the RNA and necessary for production of the ribosomes, and it's also important organelle that is responsible for the heredity transport from the animals to their offsprings. And within the nucleus, these there are threads of chromatin composed of DNA and associated proteins. EPR, we know it already. Then rough EPR, smooth EPR, then nucleolus, lysosome, then vesicles, and many more. Vesicles are the one which is acting like the storeroom in a house, where in which it is only used for storing the unwanted or wanted material for future. So here there is a difference between a rough endoplasmic reticulum and a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. As the name indicates, the rough endoplasmic reticulum do contain lot of ribosomes, whereas the smooth endoplasmic reticulum does not have any ribosomes. The daughter structures on the rough ER are called as the ribosomes, and the smooth ER is having the very important function of the synthesis of steroidal hormones, sex hormones, then digestive enzymes, fatty acids, then phospholipids, triglyceride, and lastly the cholesterol. Whereas the smooth ER also stores regulates the concentration of the cellular calcium, a function which is very much required to the body. It is also responsible for the digestion of the carbohydrates which are required to the cell and also carry out the detoxification of the xenobiotics in the cell. So this is the structure of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and the another arrow structure is also called as the smooth ER. Here you can see that the protein is synthesized by the ribosomes by different subunits. They are going to code for the mRNA is being coded, and it is the one which slices the larger protein into the smaller one. So this is the structure. Then ribosomes, they are very important for the protein synthesis as and when they get the response from the mRNA for a suitable protein. And accordingly, they are going to synthesize the proteins which are required to the cell, and it cannot stop it. So here you can see that there are amino acid sequences will be entering the ribosome and get converted into the required amino acid and also the polypeptide chains. So usually ribosome is clever enough. It can read and interpret the instructions within the messenger RNA and use to transfer DNA or cell called as rTNA to link to amino acids. So overall, the cell, the Golgi apparatus is the one which is a cistern. It is located in the cytoplasm next to the EPR. So it is the main function is to sort, modify, package, and proteins, and cells sends it to the other organism where they also require the same. So here a secretory vesicles are there, then membrane vesicles are also present in the endoplasmic reticulum is concerned. Then plasma membrane, nucleus, transport vesicles, cistern, transphase. All these things are present as usual. So the function of the Golgi apparatus is to sort the protein. Mitochondria is the powerhouse. So there are about 1600 to 2000 mitochondria that present in the liver cells, muscle cells, kidney. However, sperm cells contain only 20 to 24 mitochondria. So this is the cross structure of a mitochondria, and in the membrane, outer membrane, then there will be the fold of the present persons or other thing, then they are very useful to the cell. Yeah, apart from this one, many porons, cristae, etc. are there, and oxidative phosphorylation takes place in the cell. Then, apart from this one, and in the end, apoptosis is a programmed cell death. All the cells which are there need to die. Every cell has got its own lifespan, and after that lifespan, they will be programmedly taken out. So that process is called as the apoptosis. So this is the cellular respiration functions. Food like glucose is going to combine with the oxygen, then energy is released, then waste of the product, and also the water is generated, whereas the glucose is going to combine with that of the six oxygen moieties to form ATP. Then apart from this one, the unwanted structure that is not required to the body, it's carbon dioxide will also be produced. Lysosomes, as the name indicates, lys means breaking down any of the parcels under the camera. So the lysosomes do contain many chemical, and they are going to secrete them after some time, and cell death or apoptosis can take place. Hence, lysosomes are referred as the suicidal bags inside the cell. So this is about the cell in very minimal things, and tomorrow onwards we will see what are all the chromosomes, etc. Then get out of this particular syllabus is concerned. Have a nice day. Good night. See you.